This podcast is brought to you by Al Jazeera.
Coming up in today's program, songs of nostalgia from Portugal, art on the streets of Chicago,
Drawing keeps my sanity.
and learning the alphabet, Colombian style. But first, Artsworld travels to Kenya to get an insider's perspective on the country's art scene.
Hello and welcome to Artsworld. My name is Tim Jiru from Nairobi, Kenya. One of the most interesting things about this beautiful city that I live, work and play are the matatus or the taxis. They're an integral part of our culture. Let's take a ride.
It is Kenyan culture. They've been here since, I think, time immemorial.
It's a van, like that carries between 25 to like 29 people.
We are the only country that got matatus with graffiti design, public transport cars that are actually designed. It's something we take pride of. As in, if you walk around, you see something beautiful on the streets.
The name matatu is a Swahili word that means three. The first time they were introduced, it was 30 cents. So it was called matatu. They are very entertaining. People really invest in matatus.
My job specification is a designer. I'd call it souping up cars or pimping up cars. Well, actually, I put design on cars, stickers, paint, pictures. It's a passion. As in, I enjoy creating something with my own hands. I like doing a job and standing aside and looking at it and saying, that's something beautiful. I like creating such things. And I also want to keep myself busy. It's quite challenging because somebody giving you the honors of designing their car, they're expecting a lot from you. So they're expecting that when you design this car and it goes out there, it must bring back money because they're using money to design it.
It's good for creating employment because now they do things like the installation. There are guys who do the graffiti. You see, like, that's art. And mostly, like, art doesn't pay in most of the places. But nowadays, if you do art on a matatu, you get money.
The taxis decided to put screens, TVs inside the taxis. The main thing was music. So we decided now, this is a good opportunity to market ourselves in the matatu because by the end of the day, everyone has to board to come to town and go back home. So they get a chance to watch us more frequently.
It's the music and the graffiti part of it. Yeah, I think they're like one of the most beautiful things that you can have, especially now here in town. And especially on this route, let's say the Route 58. I don't think there's any other route that has anything on this route, yeah.
When I talk about 58, I think of an area where people are into hip-hop, people are into new things, what is currently happening. These are enlightened people.
From the beginning, we record in the studio. We make the audio. Then from there, we go make the video. And then come edit it in the studio. Then after that, we give it to a DJ who now mixes our music with other artists. Then out of the mix, that's what they go and sell to the matatus because they want the variety of artists, the variety of music.
The government wants something in uniform. Like the white ones, everything has a yellow stripe. But they don't like graffiti.
It's something we young people have found we can do. instead of staying in the streets. So by designing, they're killing a form of employment. So I'd say they give us a chance, see what we can do with it. There are some people who are raising families with what we are doing here. The government now is pushing us away from this thing. They are saying that maybe they're causing accidents, of which we don't understand how.
I'm a tattoo driver. You yourself, you have the car, small car in front of me. You yourself, you want to go 20 speed, oh, you're creating more traffic behind me. I'm in a hurry because I'm carrying passengers. So I have to overlap, you have to go to my destination.
Everywhere, in every country, there are crazy drivers. But actually, here in Nairobi, I wouldn't say they're crazy. I'd say they're excited. So that's why they're basically driving the car like mad people. When I walk on the streets, I see a matatu I have designed. I'm proud of it, man. I feel good when I'm walking on the streets and the drivers are like honking their horns at me. Yeah, Rasta, yeah, how you doing? I love art. That's what keeps me going.
Music is part of our everyday life here in Kenya, as it is for the Portuguese, who are known for their Fado music. Think of it as equivalent to the blues.
Mora num beco da Alfama e chamou-lhe a madrugada, e chamou-lhe a madrugada.
Some say that Fado came as a dance from Africa in the 19th century and was adopted by the poor on the streets of Lisbon. Others say it started at sea as homesick sailors sang of their loneliness. But the most commonly accepted explanation is that it came from the songs of the Moors.
Eu julgo que estas lamúrias, os lamentos.
I think that these whinings, these weepings are related to the Moorish songs from the time when parts of Lisbon were under the domination of the Moors. At the beginning of the 19th century, it's when people started to sing it in the taverns and streets of the city, using the fado to express the pains of living under deep poverty.
Tinham a ver com a grande miséria que se vivia nessa altura.
It's true that all these traditions had a great influence and contributed to the Fado appearance. But for me, these are just ingredients, because this style of music was cooked. I mean, it was born in Lisbon. This style of music was born here as an urban form of music.
Fado music is the heart of the Portuguese soul. Literally, fado means fate. But as with many other Portuguese words, it implies so much more.
Cantar o fado está ligado às emoções.
Singing fado is singing the human emotions, such as love, jealousy.
Lyrics evoke longing, hopelessness and futility. Fado evokes saudade, a word that defies direct translation. Saudade implies longing and passion.
Fado is sad in its essence. Fado music reflected the living conditions of the people who were living under a dictatorship at the time, and the soul of the people was very sad.
Fado was also the earthy music of taverns, brothels and street corners. In these small bars and cafes, people would get up and sing in a spontaneous manner. One of the most famous names in Fado was Maria Severa.
É uma figura mítica da história do fado.
Maria Severa Onofriana is a mythical figure in the history of Fado. She lived between 1820 and 1846. She was a prostitute that became famous for a lovely voice and became the most famous Fado singer due to a forbidden love relation with the Count of Vimioso.
Com o Conde de Vimioso.
Amália Rodrigues is considered the queen of the fadistas.
Amália was the most important figure of the contemporary history of Fado music. She created a real revolution in Fado from an aesthetic point of view. Amália helped take this music to a higher cultural level.
A
It was also Amalia who introduced the tradition of dressing in black to sing Fado. Amalia took the Fado to a whole world. She opened the way that allowed others that some decades later spread the Fado around the world. More than a decade later, Carlos do Carmo did the same.
But Fado had its critics. These lyrics were forbidden by the Censorship Commission during the fascist regime in Portugal.
In 1927, with the implementation of censorship, Fado suffered a series of forced changes.
Fado had nothing to do with the fascist regime. On the contrary, the leaders of the fascist regime had always tried to use the Fado because it was very popular. Fado didn't change with the regime because Fado comes from the soul.
Today, the younger generation in Portugal is respectful but not dedicated to Fado.
Marisa is a symbol of a new generation of fadistas who are making Fado more international.
Dressed in black, a fadista stands in front of the musicians and communicates through gesture and facial expressions. The hands move, the body is stationary, eyes are closed. Fadistas tell stories of pain and fatalism, longing or nostalgia, unrealized dreams.
I'm here at the Maasai market where they sell beautiful pieces of artwork, but when we come back after the break, we're going to meet a man from Chicago who's given up pretty much everything for his art. Jambo, Sante, welcome back to Artsworld. As Kenyans, we all know about the problem of homelessness. Last year, so many people had to flee their homes after the post-election violence. In our next story, we meet a man in Chicago who actually chose to become homeless.
Have my coffee, clear my head, smoke a few cigarettes, go to a place to eat. Had nothing else to do. Then I go back to Starbucks and start drawing. Drawing keeps my sanity, keeps me from going to fight somebody or rob a liquor store or do anything outside of normal life. When I draw, I forget about everything else that's in the world. It's like what's on my mind on the paper. God, I hope this bus ain't crowded. There's a spot where I used to work at. Right down, no, that's not it. It was on the other block, I'm sorry. On Walton. Waking up in Newbury Park after walking out on my job with only half my last paycheck, I am now homeless. Nowhere to go, only thing to turn to is my drawings for peace of mind. This is a biography through drawings of myself. Once upon a time in a life. The people nowadays says, well, why don't you just accept a regular job? And I said, well, you tell me where you can get a job. You're going to be happy and still make your bills. The Adventures of Nick 7, XXX, Volume 2. I've drawn 1,200 pages, 3 volumes, and 8 stories out of 1,200 pages. Sometimes I just like writing the story. Write the title, write page by page what's going to go on. Now these are the characters. to love the way he talked to the good-looking women or delivers his one-liners. This woman assassin is making love to the real airplane pilot. And the real airplane pilot doesn't know that he's about to get killed. I always like to keep people in suspense. I was like Hitchcock.
As soon as we sort of looked at it, I think Anne was sitting with it in front of her on the desk, and she started to flip through the pages. And I think what you notice when you look at this work immediately is that it's fascinating. It's like the human imagination. This man has created a world in his head and spilled it onto paper.
I told her, I says, I'm a homeless person. I says, I can't afford to be running around all over the city on just a chance. I figured out to be comfortable, well, without being extravagant, I need at least $1,000 a month. Rent costs about $600 to $700. Your food, your transportation.
I don't think we necessarily were interested in it as something to turn around and sell immediately, but something rather to think about and to observe and to see what happens next.
I'd like to make enough, at least to go through the winter months where I could do drawing inside in peace. You know, and I don't have to worry about somebody else to wake me up. I can come and go when I want to eat, you know, and get the good amount of sleep that I want. If I can make enough money to last all year round, that's even better.
Even though dance is an everyday part of life here in Kenya, for me, it never loses its magic. In South America, there's a school teacher who's creating his own magic by using the art of words.
A biblioburro is a guy who comes on a donkey. He brings books.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo han pasado? Mi nombre es Luis Soriano Borges.
My name is Luis Soriano Borges. I am the person who rides along these fields with the traveling library, the bibliodonkey.
I ask him, where did you get this idea? And he says, well, out of my mind.
When I was studying, I liked to go to the library a lot. It was a sort of hiding place from the never-ending difficulties of, there is no dinner today, you've got to do your homework, go to school, go to mass.
He used to run out of the house and you could always find him in the library. He loved it. He lived in his imagination.
Un burro de noche. Un burro que rebuzna y espanta los qué? Los pajaritos.
I realize we have to take books to the kids, because if they do not have a library, then we have to create one. We have to take it to them. These kids from the mountains can't come to the library, so we have to take the library to them.
He invented the donkey bookshelves. He put the books in them and he called it biblioburro, donkey library. He named them Beto and Alpha, so he wrote down Alpha, and then he wrote down Beto. What does this mean? Alphabet? The bibliodonkeys are a means of transportation the teacher uses. He brings books on two donkeys and goes around reading stories and taking books and important resources to the kids all around the countryside.
a todos los niños de las veredas.
La historia la cuenta
una pobre viejecita sin nadita que comer, sino carne, dulce, torta, huevo, pan y pez. Bueno, te cuento que el criterio que tengo sobre...
According to a very clear and well thought out plan, I decide where the donkeys must go. The kids who live near the road see cars and see people go by, and they get to learn something. Speaking with people who come from somewhere else teaches you. But the kids who live far from the road, 15, 20 kilometers away, who teaches them? Nobody.
Él viene, nos trae libros, nos trae
He comes and brings us books, stories and materials, because the children haven't got any, and their parents cannot buy them either.
These are kids who have gone through a tough, violent situation. They saw hanged, dead, and mutilated people. They saw their own parents terrified. They often had to hide in the river. They somehow stay mute because they believe they are still hiding.
Y si cerramos los ojos, estamos usando la imaginación, el está en la mente. ¿Oíste? ¿Qué queremos nosotros?
What are we after? Alpha, Beto, and I. We want to cheer up the kids, to have them take a pencil in their hands and paint the world the color they want.
Spectacular, you can't imagine it. We read stories.
They now laugh. They no longer hide behind a tree as if they were a wild animal.
He brings books and we read them and we play and sometimes we paint.
This is a long-term project. We will cultivate Colombian citizens with a constructive and analytical mentality and with loads of imagination.
Y colorín colorado, esta historia se ha terminado. Abran los ojos y miren.
Great story there. And that's it for this week's edition of Artsworld. I'm Tim Jiru right here in Nairobi, Kenya. Thanks for watching. Kwaheri, baki salama, goodbye, stay well.